Captain Daeho Kim stood at the bridge of the exploration vessel Sejong, his eyes fixed on the massive screen before him. The ship's sensors had picked up something unusual, a structure that shouldn't exist this far from Earth. They were beyond Neptune's orbit, in a region of space that humans had only started to explore. "Captain, you need to see this," called Su Kang from her science station. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic display. "The energy readings are off the charts. This isn't human technology." Daeho walked over to her station, his footsteps echoing in the quiet bridge. The crew watched him, waiting for his reaction. After 20 years in space, Daeho had seen many strange things, but this was different. The readings showed a massive artificial structure, hidden in the darkness between worlds. "How did we miss this before?" he asked, his voice calm despite the tension in his shoulders. "It wasn't here before, sir," First Officer Ji Woo Park said, joining them at the science station. "Our last scan of this sector was 3 days ago. This appeared sometime after that." Daeho nodded slowly. "Send a message to Earth Command. Mark it Priority 1. He turned to his communications officer. "Du Young, try to broadcast a greeting on all frequencies. Use the first contact protocols." Commander Du Young Shin nodded and began transmitting the carefully prepared message that humanity had created for this exact moment. The message was simple: peace, friendship, and a desire to learn. They had practiced this scenario countless times, but now it was real. The response came faster than anyone expected. The massive structure suddenly lit up with thousands of lights. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The structure was a ship. No, more than a ship. It was a mobile battle station bigger than anything humans had ever built. Multiple energy signatures detected. Sujai called out, her voice rising. "They're powering up weapons." "Shields up," Daeho ordered. "Prepare for emergency jump." But before they could act, a beam of green light shot from the alien structure. It wasn't aimed at them. Instead, it created a hologram in the middle of the bridge. The image showed a tall, skeletal creature with gray skin and multiple arms. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural purple light. Primitive species, the creature spoke in perfect English, its voice filled with contempt. "You have entered the territory of the Carix Empire. Your existence has been noted. Your technology is inadequate. Your worlds will serve a better purpose under our control." Jaiwu stepped forward. "We come in peace. We are the human race from the planet Earth. We wish to establish diplomatic relations." The creature laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Diplomacy is for equals. You are not our equals. The Carix do not negotiate with lesser beings. We conquer them. It is the natural order of things." "We don't want war," Daeho said firmly. "But if you threaten Earth, we will defend ourselves." "Defend?" The creature seemed amused. "You cannot defend against what you cannot comprehend. Your species will learn its place, just as countless others have. Consider this your only warning." The hologram disappeared. The alien structure began to move, its surface shifting like liquid metal. "Multiple ships launching," Suja reported. "They're heading toward the inner solar system." Daeho's mind raced. They had to warn Earth. Plot a course back to Earth, maximum speed. Send everything we've recorded to command. They need to know what's coming. The Sejong turned and accelerated, its engines pushing to their limits. But they all knew they wouldn't make it in time. The alien ships were faster, their technology far beyond human capabilities. "Sir," Du Young called out, "they're targeting the Neptune research station." The research station orbited Neptune, home to over 5,000 scientists and their families. It was humanity's farthest permanent settlement, a symbol of their expansion into space. "Open a channel to the station," Daeho ordered. "Tell them to evacuate immediately." But it was too late. The alien ships surrounded the station. Green beams of energy sliced through its protective shields like they weren't there. The station's hull cracked, exposing its inhabitants to the cold vacuum of space. Jiwoo watched in horror. Her sister worked on that station. Her niece and nephew lived there. She gripped her console so hard her knuckles turned white. "No," she whispered. "Please, no." The station exploded in a brilliant flash of light. 5,000 lives, gone in an instant. The alien ships didn't even slow down. They continued their relentless advance toward Earth. "Record everything," Daho ordered, his voice tight with anger. "Every detail, every reading. Earth needs to know exactly what we're dealing with." The crew worked in shocked silence, their hands shaking as they documented humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. They had dreamed of meeting alien life, of learning and growing together. Instead, they had met the Orcs, a species that saw them as nothing more than resources to be conquered. "Message from Earth Command," Du Young reported. "They're implementing the emergency defense protocol. All ships are being recalled. All colonies are going into lockdown." Daho knew it wouldn't be enough. Earth's defenses were designed to fight off asteroids and protect against solar flares. They had nothing that could stop these aliens. "Sir," Sujai called out, her voice steady despite the fear. "I've analyzed their weapons. There's something strange about them. The energy signature. It's not just destroying things. It's changing them somehow. Changing them." Daho moved to her station. "Show me." The readings were unlike anything they had seen before. The Orcs' weapons didn't just break things apart. They transformed matter at the molecular level. They weren't just destroying the station, they were converting it into something else. "They're not just conquerors," Suji said. "They're harvesters. They transform everything they destroy into resources they can use. That's why they target populated areas first. Organic matter gives them the most complex materials to work with." The implications were horrifying. The Orcs weren't just going to kill humans, they were going to convert them into raw materials for their empire. Jiwoo finally spoke, her voice cold with rage. "We need to make them pay. We need to show them that humans aren't just resources. We're not just things they can harvest." Daho looked at his crew. He saw the same determination in all their faces. The Orcs thought humans were primitive and weak. They thought Earth would be an easy conquest, just another world to add to their empire. They were wrong. "Send a message to all Earth ships," Daho ordered. "Tell them everything we've learned about their weapons. And add this: the Orcs think we're primitive. They think we're weak. Let's show them how primitive species fight when they're protecting their home." The Sejong raced back toward Earth, carrying crucial information about humanity's new enemy. Behind them, the Orc ships continued their advance, confident in their superiority, certain of their victory. They didn't know that humans had one advantage they couldn't understand. Humans never, ever gave up. When pushed to the wall, when faced with extinction, humans didn't break. They got creative. They got dangerous. The Orcs had started this war thinking they were teaching lesser beings their place in the galaxy. Instead, they were about to learn a lesson themselves. Never start a war with humans, because humans would fight with everything they had, and they would keep fighting until either they won or there was nothing left of them to fight with. As the Sejong approached Earth, emergency alerts were already blaring across every continent. Humanity was going to war, ready or not. And despite their fear, despite the overwhelming odds against them, they would fight. Because that's what humans did best. They faced impossible odds, and they found a way to win. The Orcs were about to learn why they should have chosen diplomacy. They were about to learn why, throughout history, the most dangerous opponents weren't the ones with the best weapons or the most advanced technology. The most dangerous opponents were the ones who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. And right now, that described every human in the solar system. The war had begun, and despite what the Orcs thought, its outcome was far from certain. Because while they had superior technology and overwhelming force, Humans had something far more powerful, the absolute refusal to be conquered. As Deho looked at his crew, he saw not defeat but determination. The Carricks had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that because humans weren't as advanced, they weren't as dangerous. They would learn. Oh, they would learn. The most feared species in the galaxy was about to discover why you should never underestimate humanity. Because humans didn't just fight wars. They changed the rules of engagement. They adapted. They evolved. And most importantly, they never ever accepted defeat as final. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. The real question was whether the Carricks would survive what they had just started. And as the Sejong carried its vital intelligence back to Earth, as the emergency alerts echoed across every human settlement from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt, as millions of people prepared for the fight of their lives, one thing became very clear. The Carricks had just made the biggest mistake in their empire's history. They had given humanity a reason to unite, a reason to fight, and a reason to show the galaxy exactly why humans were the most adaptable, most resourceful, and most dangerous species anyone had ever encountered. The war had begun, and humanity was ready to teach the galaxy's most feared species a lesson they would never forget. Admiral Han Sol Lee stood in Earth's Emergency Command Center, studying the holographic display of the solar system. Red dots showed the advancing Carricks fleet. Blue dots marked human positions. There were far too many red dots, and not enough blue ones. "They've already taken the outer colonies," a general said. "Mars is next." Han Sol nodded quietly. He had been preparing for alien contact his whole career, but not like this. Not war. Still, he saw something the others missed. The Carricks were powerful, yes, but they were also predictable. "Show me their attack patterns again," he ordered. The hologram replayed the last 3 days of Carrick's movements. They always attacked the same way. Straight lines, perfect formations, textbook military precision. Han Sol smiled. Perfect wasn't always best. "They fight like machines," he said. "No creativity. No adaptation. That's their weakness." In the science lab below the command center, Su Jai Kang and Taiwan Choi worked without rest. They had been studying the debris from the Neptune station attack, looking for anything that could help. "Look at this," Su Jai said, pointing to her screen. "Their weapons don't just destroy. They transform matter into energy they can use. But the process isn't perfect. There's waste energy." Taiwan leaned closer. "Energy we can track. Better." Suji's eyes lit up. "Energy we can disrupt." Above Mars, Commander Du Young Shin watched the Carrick's fleet approach. His small squadron of ships seemed tiny compared to the alien armada. But he had his orders. Test the enemy's response to unusual tactics. All ships, he called over the radio. Execute Operation Silent Thunder. The human ships scattered, each flying in random patterns. The Carrick ships tried to follow, their perfect formation breaking apart. That's when Du Young gave the real order. Now, hidden in Mars' many small moons, dozens of automated drones activated. They weren't weapons. They were mining equipment, reprogrammed to release clouds of metallic dust. The dust floated through space, seemingly harmless. The Carrick ships fired their energy weapons, but as the beams passed through the dust clouds, something unexpected happened. The beams scattered, weakened, some even reflecting back at their sources. "It's working," Du Young shouted. "Their weapons can't handle irregular particle dispersal. Keep them confused." Back on Earth, Han Sol watched the data from the Mars battle with growing excitement. "Send this to all ships," he ordered. "The Carricks aren't invincible. They're just predictable." In her lab, Suji made another breakthrough. She and Taiwan had been studying the Carrick's communication signals. "Their whole empire runs on perfect efficiency," she explained to Admiral Lee. "Every signal, every weapon, every ship, it all follows the same patterns. If we can disrupt those patterns, we can disrupt their entire military." Han Sol finished. How fast can you make it work? Give us 2 days, Taiwan said. They got 1 day. The Carracks reached Mars, but they found something they didn't expect. Instead of cowering humans, they found an enemy that refused to follow the rules of warfare as they understood them. Human ships darted between Mars moons, using the terrain in ways the Carracks never considered. Mining drones turned their drilling lasers into weapons. Even the civilian ships fought back, ramming into Carracks vessels in suicide attacks that shouldn't have worked, but did. This is not efficient combat, the Carracks commander transmitted to Earth. You waste resources. You waste lives. Surrender and be harvested with dignity. Admiral Lee's response was short. Humans don't fight for efficiency. We fight to win. The battle for Mars lasted 3 days. The humans lost many ships, but they learned something valuable. The Carracks couldn't handle chaos. Their perfect weapons and strategies fell apart when faced with random, unpredictable attacks. On the 4th day, Suji and Taiwan finished their work. They had created a virus, not a computer program, but a pattern of energy pulses that disrupted the Carracks' perfectly ordered systems. It's like giving them a headache, Suji explained. Their systems rely on perfect patterns. We're going to show them some human-style disorder. The first test came at Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. A single human ship approached a Carracks battle group. The aliens prepared to destroy it with their usual precision. Instead, their weapons stopped working. Their ships started moving in random directions. Their perfect formation fell apart. All ships, attack. Duyum ordered. His fleet emerged from hiding behind Europa's ice sheets. This time, they weren't running. This time, they were hunting. The Carracks didn't know how to handle ships that refused to follow proper military doctrine. Human vessels flew impossible patterns, used weapons in ways they weren't designed for, and turned their own technology against them. This is not war, the Carracks commander transmitted. This is chaos. No, Admiral Lee responded. This is humanity. The news spread through the galaxy. The Carracks, the most feared species in known space, were losing ships to a primitive race that hadn't even developed proper faster-than-light travel. Other alien species watched with growing interest. In the Arcturus system, where the Carracks had placed their main fleet, their leaders received disturbing reports. The humans weren't just fighting, they were learning. Each battle taught them more about Carracks technology. Each defeat made them more dangerous. They adapt too quickly, one Carracks leader observed. They do not follow the proper procedures for technological development. They must be stopped, another said. They are a danger to the natural order. But it was too late. Humanity had already changed the rules of the game. The Carracks had expected an inferior species to fight exactly as they did, just with lesser technology. Instead, they found an enemy that turned their own perfection against them. Captain Daho Kim, now commanding a fleet of his own, led the attack on a Carracks supply base. His ships used Suji's virus to disable the base's defenses, but instead of destroying it, they captured it. Send the data to Earth, he ordered. Let's see what else we can learn about our perfect friends. The Carracks had made a fundamental mistake. They had judged humanity by their technology level, not their potential. They didn't understand that humans had spent their entire history adapting, changing, and turning weaknesses into strengths. As the war entered its second month, the Carracks found themselves in an impossible situation. They were losing ships to an enemy that refused to fight properly. Their perfect strategies were useless against humans who changed tactics in the middle of battle. Their advanced technology was being turned against them by beings they had dismissed as primitive. In the emergency command center, Admiral Lee watched the latest battle reports with satisfaction. Send word to all ships, he ordered. Operation Chaos begins tomorrow. Show them what happens when humans really decide to get creative. The Carracks were about to learn another lesson. The most dangerous enemy wasn't the one with the best weapons. It was the one who could turn anything into a weapon. And humans could turn anything into a weapon. The real war was just beginning. And this time, Humanity wasn't fighting for survival. They were fighting to win. And the galaxy would never be the same. Deep in Carrick's territory, Captain Daho Kim's ship drifted silently through space. The Sejong looked different now. Its hull was covered with captured Carrick's technology, making it look like one of their supply ships. Suji's virus had helped them copy the Carrick's identification signals perfectly. Status report, Daho whispered, even though the enemy couldn't hear him through space. Their patrol ships are passing us by, Du Young reported from his station. They think we're one of them. This was the deepest any human ship had ever gone into enemy space. The plan was dangerous, but that's what made it perfect. The Carricks never expected anyone to be this bold or this crazy. Back on Earth, Suji and Todwan worked in their new lab, surrounded by captured Carrick's technology. They had learned more about alien science in 3 months of war than humanity had discovered in a century of peaceful research. Look at this, Suji said, pointing to a strange device. Their weapons don't just change matter into energy. They store the patterns of everything they destroy, like a library of destruction. Taiwan nodded. Can we use it? Better. Suji smiled. We can reverse it. In the command center, Admiral Hansol Lee received an unexpected message. It came through channels that weren't supposed to exist. Alien frequencies that didn't match any known species. You fight well against the Carricks, the message said. We have watched for centuries as they harvested worlds. None fought back like you do. We offer help. Hansol studied the message carefully. Can we trust them? His advisors weren't sure, but Ji Woo Park, who had survived the Neptune station attack and now worked in intelligence, had an idea. The enemy of my enemy might be my friend, she said, and I don't think we're the only species the Carricks have hurt. Meanwhile, aboard the Sejong, Daho's crew approached their target, a massive Carrick's research station. This was where they developed their matter transformation weapons. This was where they planned their perfect strategies. All teams ready, Du Young reported. We go on your word. Daho took a deep breath. Send the signal. Throughout the station, hidden devices activated. They had been smuggled in by other alien species, the ones who had contacted Earth. The devices didn't do much. They just created small errors in the station's perfect systems. Tiny mistakes that grew larger and larger. The Carricks, who couldn't handle imperfection, didn't know how to respond. Their systems started failing. Their perfect order turned to chaos. That's when the Sejong attacked. Launch all fighters. Daho ordered. From his ship's hull, dozens of small craft emerged. They weren't normal fighters. They were hybrid vessels, built from a mix of human ingenuity and stolen Carrick's tech. The station's defenses tried to target them, but the fighters moved in patterns no Carrick's computer could predict. They spun and twisted in ways that made no tactical sense, which was exactly why they worked. Boarding teams, go, Du Young commanded. Space-suited figures shot from the Sejong toward the station. They carried weapons that Suji and Todwan had designed. Devices that turned the Carricks' perfect technology against them. Inside the station, alarms blared. The Carricks had never been invaded before. They had no protocol for enemies inside their walls. They tried to fight back with their usual precision, but the humans were too unpredictable. This is not proper combat. A Carrick's commander shouted over the station's communications. You must fight according to established tactics. Sorry, Daho replied as his teams advanced. Humans don't read your warfare manuals. Back on Earth, Suji made her breakthrough. She had found a way to not just disrupt Carrick's technology, but to reverse it completely. Their matter transformation weapons could work backwards, restoring what was destroyed instead of harvesting it. Send this to all ships, Admiral Lee ordered when he saw her work. Priority 1. It's time to show the Carricks what happens when you hurt humanity. In the Arcturus system, the main Carrick's fleet received disturbing reports. Their perfect empire was falling apart. Other alien species, inspired by humanity's resistance, had begun to rebel. The Carricks found themselves fighting enemies on all sides, and none of them fought properly. This cannot continue. The Carricks' High Command decided. We must crush the humans completely. Send the entire fleet to Earth. We will harvest their world and end this disorder. But that's exactly what humanity had been waiting for. As the Carricks' fleet gathered for their final attack, Daho's team completed their mission. They didn't just steal research data from the station. They infected its core systems with a special version of Suji's virus. When the Carricks' fleet activated their faster-than-light drives, the virus spread through their linked networks. Suddenly, their perfect formation fell apart. Ships appeared in the wrong places. Weapons fired at random. All ships, attack. Admiral Lee commanded. The human fleet, supported by their new alien allies, struck from all directions. They didn't use normal tactics. Each captain was told to do whatever they thought would work best. The result was pure chaos, exactly what humans did best. Carrick's ships, designed for perfect precision, couldn't handle the randomness of the human attack. Their formations broke. Their strategies failed. And when they tried to use their matter transformation weapons, Suji's reverse engineering turned them into restoration beams instead. Impossible. The Carricks' fleet commander transmitted. You were primitive. You were weak. No, Admiral Lee responded. We were human. That's what you never understood. The battle raged for hours. Human ships darted between Carricks' vessels, firing impossible shots, making maneuvers that broke the laws of tactical warfare. Their alien allies, freed from the fear of Carrick's perfection, joined in with their own unique fighting styles. On his bridge, Daho watched the Carricks' fleet fall apart. Send the final signal, he ordered. Throughout the enemy fleet, the virus triggered its last command. The Carricks' perfect technology turned against them completely. Their weapons wouldn't fire. Their engines wouldn't respond. Their perfect order became perfect chaos. Their main ship is sending a transmission, Dugum reported. They're asking for terms. The most feared species in the galaxy had been defeated, not by superior technology or better weapons, but by humans who simply refused to follow the rules. In the aftermath, as the human fleet surrounded the disabled Carrick ships, Admiral Lee sent a message to Earth. It was short, but it said everything. The Carricks have learned their lesson. Humanity stands undefeated, and the galaxy will never be the same. Aboard the Sejong, Daho looked at his crew, the survivors who had been there from the first contact. They had changed. Earth had changed. The whole galaxy had changed. Because the Carricks had made one simple mistake. They had assumed that being primitive meant being weak. They had never understood that humans were primitive by choice, because they knew that sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, the chaotic ways were the best ways to fight. They had started this war thinking they would teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity had taught them a lesson they would never forget. Never start a war with humans. Because humans don't just fight wars. They change the rules. And they never, ever give up. 1 year after the great battle in the Arcturus system, Captain Daho Kim stood in a room that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Around him were not just humans, but representatives from 12 different alien species. They had gathered on a neutral space station to sign the Galactic Peace Accord. The Carricks representatives sat quietly in their section, their once proud posture now humble. They had learned their lesson the hard way. Their perfect empire had crumbled not because of superior weapons, but because they had never understood the true strength of imperfection. Admiral Hansol Lee stepped up to speak. The room fell silent. Even the translation devices seemed to pause, as if they too wanted to hear his words clearly. 1 year ago, we were alone in the galaxy, he began. We thought we were primitive. We thought we were weak. The Carricks thought so too. He smiled. We all learned something different. In the science section of the station, Su Jai Kang and Tai Wan Choi worked with scientists from other worlds. The technology they had developed during the war had changed everything. Their reversal of Carrick's harvesting weapons had led to something wonderful. They could now restore dead worlds to life. "Look at this," Suji said, pointing to a screen showing the Neptune research station. What had once been destruction was now becoming new life. The station was rebuilding itself, atom by atom, using the very weapons that had destroyed it. Jiwoo Park watched the reconstruction with tears in her eyes. Soon, her family and the thousands of others who had died there would have a proper memorial. But more than that, their deaths had led to something remarkable, a way to bring hope to countless worlds the Carricks had harvested over the centuries. "We're ready for the next phase," Taiwan announced. "The restoration technology can work on any destroyed structure. We can rebuild everything the Carricks destroyed. Not just our own losses, but others too." Commander Du Young Shin, now leading the new Human-Alien Joint Defense Force, entered the science lab with news. "The first mixed species crews are ready," he said. "We're sending ships to help restore worlds in the Andromeda sector. Humans and aliens working together. Who would have thought?" Back in the main hall, Admiral Lee continued his speech. "But this peace isn't just about ending a war. It's about starting something new. Humanity never wanted to fight. We wanted to explore, to learn, to grow. Now we can do that. Not alone, but with friends from across the galaxy." The Carrick's leader stood next to him. "We too have learned," it said, its voice lacking the old arrogance. "Perfect order, we now understand, leads to perfect stagnation. It is in chaos, in diversity, that true strength lies. Humanity taught us this." Daeho watched as representatives from each species signed the accord. Each signature represented not just peace, but a promise to share knowledge, to protect each other, and to never again let any species think they could dominate others through force. In Earth orbit, the Sejong prepared for its next mission. The ship looked different now. Its hull showed marks of battle, but also signs of renewal. Patches of Carrick's technology blended with human innovation and contributions from other alien species. It was no longer just a human ship. It was a symbol of what different species could achieve together. Captain's log, Daeho recorded. 1 year since the war ended. We thought we were fighting for survival. Instead, we were fighting for something bigger, a chance to change the galaxy for the better. Suji's innovations had spread far beyond weapons. The principles she and Taiwan discovered were revolutionizing space travel, communication, and healing. Their work, combined with knowledge from other species, was creating technology that no one species could have developed alone. The restoration project on Neptune Station is 70% complete, a young officer reported to Jiwoo. "The families, they can come home soon." Jiwoo nodded, touching the memorial plaque on the wall. It listed the names of all who had died in the first attack. "They didn't die for nothing," she said softly. "They died so the galaxy could live in peace." In the newly established Galactic Council chamber, representatives discussed the future. The Carricks, their empire now transformed into a cooperative member of the galactic community, shared their knowledge freely. Other species, no longer afraid, contributed their own unique perspectives. "Humanity's greatest gift to us," an alien delegate said, "wasn't defeating the Carricks. It was showing us that different doesn't mean wrong. That chaos can be creative. That imperfection can be strength." Admiral Lee smiled at these words. On his desk sat a piece of the original Neptune station, a reminder of how the war began. Next to it sat a seedling from a restored garden on that same station, a symbol of renewal and hope. Do Young's Joint Defense Force grew stronger each day, but they weren't preparing for war. They were training to protect, to rescue, to rebuild. Ships that once carried weapons now carried restoration technology. Soldiers who once fought now helped heal worlds. "We're getting more volunteers than we can handle," he reported happily. "Everyone wants to be part of the restoration teams." In the science labs, Suji and Taiwan made another breakthrough. They found a way to combine their restoration technology with faster-than-light travel. Soon, Ships would be able to reach destroyed worlds faster, bringing new life to dead spaces more efficiently than ever before. It's funny, Suji said to Taiwan as they worked. The Carricks wanted to harvest worlds to make their empire stronger. Instead, they helped us learn how to restore worlds and make the whole galaxy stronger. The peace ceremony concluded with a stunning display. Ships from every species flew together in formation above the station. They weren't showing military might. They were demonstrating unity, cooperation, and hope. Daho watched from the Sejong's bridge, remembering that first terrible encounter with the Carricks. "We've come so far," he said to his crew, "and we're just getting started." The most feared species in the galaxy had learned their lesson. But more importantly, they had helped teach the galaxy an even greater lesson. True strength doesn't come from perfection or power. It comes from diversity, from adaptation, from the willingness to change and grow. As the Sejong prepared to lead the first joint species exploration mission into unknown space, Daho made one final log entry. "The war taught us all something important. The Carricks learned not to underestimate primitive species. Other aliens learned not to fear standing up to bullies. And humans, we learned that we were never really alone in the galaxy. We just had to show everyone, including ourselves, what humanity could really do. The galaxy would never be the same." And that was exactly how it should be.